The history of septic systems dates back over a century and reflects the ongoing evolution of public health, engineering, and sanitation. Here's a breakdown of how septic systems developed and became a common solution for wastewater treatment in rural and suburban areas. Origins and early development: 1800s, 1860s, France. The first true septic tank system was developed by Jean-Louis Murat, a French inventor. He built a concrete tank to handle household sewage, which drained into a cesspool. Years later, it was discovered that the tank retained solids and broke them down anaerobically. 1895, Morris's design became known as a septic tank, from the Greek septic, meaning putrefying. The concept was shared with scientists and engineers and started spreading across Europe. Expansion and adoption, 1900s. Early 1900s, United States, septic systems were introduced in rural and semi-rural parts of the U.S., especially where municipal sewer systems were impractical. 1920s, 1940s. Use expanded due to increasing homeownership and suburban development, especially in areas without centralized sewer infrastructure. Design evolution. Septic systems began to standardize, usually consisting of a septic tank to hold and digest solids, a drain field, leach field, where liquid effluent could percolate into the ground. Modernization and regulation, 1960s, 1980s. Environmental awareness. As environmental protection gained momentum in the U.S. in the 1960s and 70s, concerns grew over groundwater contamination and system failures. ADEQ and local agencies. States began regulating on-site wastewater treatment systems. In Arizona, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, ADEQ, became a key regulator of septic systems. Standards introduced. Requirements for inspections, permitting, and system sizing were developed to ensure proper treatment and soil suitability. Advanced systems and technology, 1990s present. Alternative septic systems. In response to environmental sensitivity and challenging soil conditions, advanced systems like aerobic treatment units, ATUs, mound systems, and constructed wetlands were developed. Inspection requirements. To protect buyers and ensure systems are functional, many states, including Arizona, implemented mandatory inspection and disclosure requirements during property sales. Focus on sustainability. Today's systems aim to be more efficient, minimize groundwater impact, and support water reuse in arid regions like Arizona. Fun fact: septic tanks still rely on anaerobic bacteria just as they did in the 1800s. These bacteria break down solids in the absence of oxygen, a principle that has stood the test of time. ADEQ septic disclosure, rules and inspection requirements. Here's a quick and clear overview comparing septic systems and sewer systems, especially useful for real estate, homeowner education, or investor decision-making. Feature septic system, sewer system definition. A private, on-site wastewater treatment system. A centralized system that transports wastewater to a municipal treatment plant. Ownership and responsibility. Homeowner is responsible for maintenance, repairs, and inspections. Maintained by the city or local government. Homeowners pay monthly sewer fees. Location common in rural or unincorporated areas where public sewer isn't available. Common in cities and densely populated areas. How it works. Wastewater flows into a tank where solids settle and are broken down by bacteria. Liquid effluent is dispersed into the soil via a drain field. Wastewater from homes is piped through a network to a treatment plant, where it is filtered, treated, and discharged. Costs higher upfront installation cost but lower monthly expenses. Requires regular pumping every 3 to 5 years. Lower upfront cost for homeowners, but ongoing monthly utility fees. Maintenance must be inspected and pumped periodically. Homeowner must monitor for signs of failure. Minimal homeowner maintenance. Municipalities manage all repairs and upgrades. Environmental impact. Can be eco-friendly if properly maintained. Failing systems can contaminate groundwater. Centralized treatment typically has advanced filtration, but leaks or overflows can cause environmental harm. Resale considerations. Must pass inspection in many states, like Arizona, before sale. Disclosure required. Generally not an issue unless there are known plumbing sewer problems. Pros and cons. Summary septic pros. Independence from city infrastructure, lower long-term costs. No monthly sewer bill. Septic cons. Requires diligent maintenance, risk of system failure if neglected. Space required for a drain field. Sewer pros. Low maintenance for homeowners. Efficient for urban areas. Centralized environmental oversight. Sewer cons. Monthly fees, vulnerable to citywide backups or pipe issues. Here's a simple breakdown of the main parts of a septic system and what each component does. 1. Septic tank. Function: the primary treatment unit. It collects wastewater from the home and separates it into 3 layers: scum, fats, oils, and grease float to the top. Effluent: the middle layer of liquid wastewater. Sludge: heavier solids that settle to the bottom. What it does. The tank holds the wastewater long enough for solids to settle and begin decomposing through anaerobic bacteria. 2. Inlet pipe function: connects the home's plumbing system to the septic tank. What it does. Delivers wastewater from toilets, sinks, showers, and appliances into the tank. 3. Baffle or T, inlet and outlet baffles. Function: located inside the tank at the inlet and outlet points. What it does. Slows down the incoming flow to reduce disturbance and helps keep solids from flowing out to the drain field. 4. Outlet pipe function: moves the partially treated liquid, effluent, from the tank to the drain field. What it does. Allows only the clarified effluent to exit the tank while retaining solids inside. 5. Drain field, leach field, or soil absorption system. Function: a network of perforated pipes is buried in gravel trenches beneath the soil surface. What it does. Distributes the effluent over a large area so it can percolate through the soil. The soil acts as a natural filter to remove harmful bacteria, viruses, and nutrients. 6. Soil, the final treatment layer. Function: natural purification layer beneath the drain field. What it does. Treats the effluent as it filters down through the soil layers, removing pathogens, nutrients, and contaminants before it reaches the groundwater. Optional, additional components. 7. Effluent filter, placed at outlet of the septic tank. Purpose: traps solids and prevents them from clogging the drain field. 8. Distribution box, D-box, placed between the septic tank and the drain field pipes. Purpose: evenly distributes effluent to multiple drain field trenches. 9. Pump chamber and alarm in some systems. Used when the drain field is uphill from the tank or when using an aerobic or mound system. Purpose: pumps effluent to the drain field and alerts the homeowner if there's a system failure or overflow risk. Cesspool versus septic tank. Key distinctions. The primary distinction between a cesspool and versus septic tank is that a septic tank is designed to contain wastewater until it can be pumped, while a cesspool drains slowly. Septic tanks need less upkeep than cesspools because they are intended to process, filter, and cycle wastewater, sending treated effluent to a drain field for natural filtration. Cesspools, on the other hand, leach untreated wastewater directly into the soil, leading to more frequent clogs and maintenance needs. Apart from the fact that cesspools are smaller, there are several key distinctions between them and septic tanks. Septic tanks can process a lot more wastewater than cesspools, making them a superior choice for larger homes. Septic tanks require less maintenance than cesspools. Cesspools are cheaper to build than septic tanks. Cesspools have a limited lifespan. Here's a summary of the history and context of the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, ADEQ's 2006 rule requiring a septic system inspection prior to the sale or transfer of property. History of ADEQ's 2006 septic inspection rule background. Before 2006, Arizona had no standardized requirement for inspecting septic systems when a property changed hands. Many systems were aging, failing, or improperly maintained, leading to public health risks and groundwater contamination, especially in rural and rapidly growing areas. Why the rule was created. The ADEQ introduced this rule to protect public health and the environment, prevent untreated or poorly treated wastewater from contaminating Arizona's scarce groundwater resources, ensure that buyers are informed about the condition of a property's on-site wastewater treatment system, OWTS, before closing. Key elements of the 2006 rule, adopted under Arizona Administrative Code R18-9A316. What the rule requires. Inspection requirement. An inspection must be completed within 6 months prior to the sale or transfer of a property that has an on-site wastewater treatment system, such as a septic system. The inspection must be conducted by a qualified inspector, usually licensed or certified under ADEQ guidelines. Transfer of ownership form. After inspection, the seller or their representative must submit a notice of transfer to ADEQ or its delegated local agency. This form includes the inspection results and updates ADEQ's records on the system's ownership. System pumping. During the inspection, the septic tank is typically pumped to allow for a full visual inspection and maintenance, ensuring it is functioning as designed. Impact of the rule for buyers. Provides transparency and confidence that the septic system is safe and compliant. For sellers, encourages regular maintenance and prevents post-sale disputes or hidden defects. For the environment, reduces the risk of groundwater contamination from leaking or failed systems. Fun fact, Arizona was one of the earlier Western states to implement a statewide inspection mandate tied to real estate transactions, which helped standardize a patchwork of local practices and highlighted the increasing attention to environmental due diligence in property sales. Does an abandoned septic system need to be inspected before a sale? Short answer, yes, usually, even if a septic system is abandoned, i.e., no longer in use. It still needs to be inspected under ADEQ's rules if it is present on the property at the time of sale or transfer. What ADEQ says. Under AAC, R18-9A316, the inspection requirement applies to all on-site wastewater treatment facilities, unless the system has been formally decommissioned according to ADEQ standards, and properly documented as such with ADEQ or the delegated county agency. What counts as abandoned versus decommissioned? Term meaning, inspection required. Abandoned. Not currently in use, but still exists on site. Yes, still needs inspection before sale. Decommissioned, properly pumped, crushed, filled, or removed per ADEQ rules, and documented. No inspection needed if properly decommissioned and reported, best practice for sellers. If the system is truly no longer in use and won't be used again, it's smart to decommission the system properly. ADEQ provides procedures. Submit documentation to the appropriate agency. Avoid inspection requirements for future sales. How to decommission an abandoned septic system in Arizona. 1. Pump and clean the tank. Hire a licensed septic service provider to pump out all wastewater and sludge. Rinse and clean the interior of the tank to remove residual waste. 2. Remove or collapse the tank. You have 2 main options. Remove the tank entirely from the ground, often done during construction or redevelopment. Collapse and fill in place, most common. Break or perforate the tank walls and bottom to prevent it from holding water. Fill the cavity with clean fill dirt, sand, or gravel to prevent collapse or hazards. Note: leaving a tank intact without filling it is unsafe and non-compliant. It can collapse and pose a hazard. 3. Disconnect and cap the system. Disconnect all inlet and outlet pipes leading to and from the tank. Seal or cap the ends to prevent backflow or unintentional reconnection. 4. Notify the local authority. Submit documentation to ADEQ or your county environmental department if they handle on-site systems. Documentation may include pumping receipts, contractor report or affidavit photos of the decommissioning. Site diagram showing tank removal or fill, why it matters. Prevents future soil or groundwater contamination. Eliminates safety hazards on the property. Helps avoid inspection requirements when selling the property. Keeps you in compliance with ADEQ rules. AAC R18 9A309. It is the seller's duty to disclose and provide septic system certification because Arizona law, through the ADEQ's 2006 rule, AAC R18 9A316, requires that any property with an on-site wastewater treatment system, like a septic system, undergo inspection within 6 months prior to sale. This inspection helps ensure that the system is functioning properly and not posing health or environmental risks. As part of the sale, the seller must also complete and submit a notice of transfer to ADEQ or the local environmental authority, transferring ownership of the system and including the inspection results. This responsibility falls on the seller because they are in the best position to provide historical knowledge about the system, ensure the inspection is completed, and protect the buyer by disclosing any known issues. Failure to do so can delay the transaction, violate state regulations, and potentially expose the seller to legal liability.